The battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena.
Can anyone hear? Oh, hello. I'm just gonna do this in here. Hello, everybody. How goes you guys? Doing great today. It is July the 25th, 2025, and I would like to say to all of you, thanks for tuning in. My name is Max, and I have some wonderful guests today. I got Kathy Flett and Angela. How do you say Tabak or Tabak?
Tabak, yeah.
Tabak. Thanks for letting me know.
Sure.
I'm very bad with names. Sorry for that. If I mispronounce your name, feel free to smack me. I can take it to some extent. And so today I want to talk about this group here. It's called. So this is a series of talks about people who are working on Alberta Independence on multiple levels. And today's talk will be a organization that I attended one of their meetings from the Alberta Women's Independence Network. And it's important to stress that this group, what do I say? One of the things I kind of like about this group in particular, and what caught my attention, is very different from what we usually hear, like Tabak Alberta, Alberta Prosperity Project, and all those mainstream groups that we tend to see all the time. Primarily because this group is focusing on women specifically. And yes, we're talking about biological women, not meant to be, not guys who pretending to be women. That's an understanding. That's true. And what I like about what I found interesting about this group is the message you guys are trying to push, which is very like, you sound like a warrior, like a women going to war, type of thing. that was kind of that's kind of the perception that I've seen from this group. I saw your presentation in Sherwood Park. Is it Kathy in Sherwood Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in Sherwood Park. So I saw Caddy in Sherwood Park, and that's how I found I found out this presentation, and also you would do it privately as well in people's houses. So I attended one of your meetings, and what I found fascinating found interesting is the level of detail, but also the difference between multiple groups and the difference between your speech relative to other similar groups. Okay, so this is what I found very interesting about that as well too. So what we have here is going to be very simple. We're gonna talk about specific group. We're gonna talk about kind of how this group started, what actually got you into the independence train, and what you have, and kind of talk about this specific group in general. Before and foremost, I would like to mention that for those who are not necessarily aware, this is kind of I digressing here. Today is sysadmin day for those who work in the IT field like myself. Today, so happy system administrator day to all the people who work in the IT field as well too, because we need to care our customers and people who are like what happened yesterday with Starlink. It went down for about 6 hours. You cannot fathom the amount of phone calls I was getting because people did not have their internet access working. So if you're working in the tech sector, this is your day to shine and to take a mug of coffee here to actually cheer you up. I work in IT, so I can brag about it. So that's good. But I have to tell those things, right? I work with technology all my life, and I work that in IT for a living. So I have to say those things because it's the amount of support that we get from people is not necessarily appreciated, I guess. but it's kind of like accountants have their day. Accountants have the day in May. Other people have their. It's like every trade has its own day, and for us, the people in the IT industry, it's today. It's the last Friday of July, basically. So we're gonna talk about you, ladies. I'm gonna bring you to the mix here, and we're gonna talk about the independence group that you guys are leading. So I want you to describe yourselves, kind of talk to you, and who are you, what you guys doing, and I personally trying to know each other, see what actually, what you do for a living, and what actually pushed you towards this to join the independence train. What actually keeps it up and going?
Go for it, Angela. You can start.
Okay, sure. So my name is Angela Tabak, and I do live just outside of Waterton Lakes National Park. So I'm in the furthest southwest corner. Yeah, right. I know it's rough. But I have like a bed and breakfast there. So that's always a lot of fun. This morning we had a couple from Australia, and we had a family from India, and then we had some folks from Utah. So get to see all kinds of people from all over the place, which is just great. I love it. I guess first and foremost, I am a mother and a grandmother, and I have an amazing husband, Jeff. And being a mom and a grandma is kind of like the thing that drives me to be part of the independence movement in Alberta, because I see where Canada is going. It's heartbreaking to me. I grew up a very proud Canadian. I've lived in 3 different provinces,
Ooh.
and just
Where?
I lived in Quebec, I lived in British Columbia, and then I've lived in Alberta.
Quebec.
Alberta, yeah, Quebec, yeah. Get this, I was in Val d'Or.
But
So
that's up in the north.
yeah, it's way up there. I was actually north of Val d'Or by about an hour. But yeah, I was a proud Canadian my whole life. Loved this country. But in the last 10, 15 years, just kind of watching things becoming more aware politically, more astute to what is happening in the country, and I don't see it ending well. And so my drive is a better future for my children and my grandchildren. And
Amen.
yeah. So you got to have a good reason to do something as crazy as this. So that's that's my good reason. And became really involved in politics 5 years ago when I joined the Wild Rose Independence Party of Alberta, and that's where Kathy and I met. That's how we became acquainted.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a little bit about me and kind of what got me into this mess, I guess.
I see. What about you, Kathy?
Me. So, Angela and I met when we were both, oh my gosh, working so hard within the Wild Rose Independence Party, and literally kind of baptized in fire as far as politics goes. My background is a little bit different from Angela's, but still very much the same. I'm self-employed, small business owner. I learned pretty quickly that I do better just working for myself, and that was great, and that has been able to allow me to travel the province now and to do all of these things. But as far as getting involved in the independence movement, I've actually been a separatist much longer than I've been involved in politics. I can't say I grew up, but in my teenage years, I was introduced to the Alberta Report, and anybody who's lived here for decades will know exactly what magazine I'm talking about. And
that's Vince Weisfield's.
That's his dad's, yeah. And so that really helped formulate my political leanings and what was actually going on here in Alberta and how brutally we were often treated. And then I had kids and got married, and my life was just all consumed with that. So always tried to be smart when I was voting, educated when I was voting. I can't say I always did a good job of it, but I did always try. And then the kids grew up, and I had a grandbaby, and this whole independence movement exploded in 2019. And I just, like everything else, I jumped in with both feet, not really knowing what I was doing or who I was talking to or what was going on, and got involved. And through a whole bunch of different, I don't know, decisions and choices and leanings and steerings, I ended up with the Wild Rose Independence Party. And that's where Angela and I, we worked so well together when we got going in that. And we also got to see the inside and what actually happens sort of behind the curtain, if you will, in these political parties, and especially within the independence movement. And the one thing that we noticed quite quickly is that although everybody blames egos and attitudes for the demise of any independence movement up until now, that's actually only half right. What actually happens is that all of the powers that be on the outside that can't handle the idea of Alberta becoming its own country find the low-hanging fruit within these parties that they can take advantage of, and they do, and then pull it down from the inside. So once Angela and I, well, we were both kicked out of the Wild Rose Independence Party. And so we sat there and said, well, okay, now what do we do? And there was a provincial election coming up in 2023. So we thought, well, let's just run as independents. You're not going to win. but you have no better way of learning everything possible in those 28 days with absolutely no opportunity to correct any of your mistakes. And so that's what we both did. And we both discovered that we really loved it. We loved
Mhm.
door knocking. We loved hearing right from the people again and what concerned them and what was going on in their lives. Um, and that the independence movement had not slowed down despite all the chaos that was in it. There was still this real big hunger for it. So then once that had come and gone and we each slept for about a week because we were so tired, we I guess it was just on a Zoom call, wasn't it, Angela? We were like, now what do? We have to do something, because we started to see some of the old players come back again. And
Oh, yeah.
we know who's who in the zoo. And so we said, you know what? Let's reach out to the ladies. There's always a disconnect with the women in these political circles, I guess, if you will,
Yes.
because it's ugly and there's just nothing fun about it oftentimes. And you kind of have to be a special brand of crazy to get into these trenches. And I guess Angela and I are. However,
Mhm.
we also really appreciate the message that women need to hear, and why we need to hear that message in a certain way in order to make those educated decisions when it comes time for a referendum. So we sat down and formulated a message to the women of Alberta and decided to go out and share it. And that's what we've been doing ever since March.
And what you mentioned is that what is the main difference? I know there are differences between men and women, obviously. That's pure biology and how God basically designs us. But
Mm-hmm.
from a political standpoint, when you mention about the message being different between men and women, what specific are you referring to?
Well, yeah. I always say, I kind of joke that women have more glands than guys do. And they're the security glands, and that's just the mama bear in us that is always
Yeah.
looking out for our children, and we have a little more, I think, aversion to risk. Now, of course, I'm speaking in generalities, so don't anybody like email me nasty flaming letters or anything. I'm speaking in generalities. But yeah, we have a little bit more of aversion to risk. And so a message that is very aggressive and that is like, kind of just laying down the law and laying down the case, is maybe not heard as well, because we've got these security concerns in the back of our minds. And so our message, the way that we have put it in a way, is that we just need to be educated, and we're not here to convince anybody of anything. It's just strictly to kind of lay out like the facts in a way that to show that really the best future for our children is for Alberta to leave Confederation. And we show quite clearly, and you'll see that a little bit later this evening, we show quite clearly why Confederation from the very beginning was flawed, and was put in a way that Albertans would never really be able to truly succeed and reach our full potential. And there's a lot of concerns nowadays, looking at our young people, and they're starting out on their own. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just we need a better future for our kids, and so we're putting it in a way that's a little bit more palatable to most women, and encouraging them to our focus is really on education, to find out the facts and then make an educated decision.
Yeah, and what I found what I found interesting is that you tend to do your meetings in private houses. Like, yeah, you do your APP meetings. Sometimes you talk. That's how I met Kathy, because I think she was in a private house, and
Mm-hmm.
then I met you in Sherwood Park at a restaurant, I believe. So your focus is really like very basic, very in a very relaxed, laid back setup. It's not like you're talking to 1,000 people at once. Your approach is very like localized, keep it very low, and just have like a tippy chat conversation, right? Is that something that you always were doing initially, or just change strategy along the way?
That's how we started it. That's how we pictured it, is that ladies, we like to get together in our kitchens, in our living rooms, in our backyards over coffee, tea, wine, food, always food involved somewhere. And we love to host, and that's just typically, especially in our generation, that's how we connect with one another. And so it just makes sense to go with what works for us. And I think especially now, we're still healing from the mandates. We're still getting used to getting out there and being with people again, and learning how to have those conversations face to face instead of the angry X posts and all of that. And so we thought, what better way to help heal from that than to get these ladies, and guys are always welcome too. I mean, you were at the meeting, right, Max? So I mean, the guys are always welcome as well.
Oh
But
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And I think a lot of is because what I've sensed is that the way you approach the message, it's different from a APP event, like an Alberta Prosperity Project. And if you ever been to those events, it has a very town hall like structure. We got a whole bunch of people in a room. We set up the speakers. We set up the people who are speaking there. We set up the actual loudspeakers and that sort of thing, the mixers and the equipment. And that's how. So I think that women tends to do more like in a casual way, and we guys are just like pumping the rigs up there. I don't know if that's a setup or if that's accurate or not, but that's the way I see things. So we're gonna talk about a winning specifically. Um, what's your feedback that you're getting from multiple events? Like when after your events, what's your feedback you're getting from the people? Like from the attendees, I mean.
Always positive.
Yeah, very positive. To the point where I would guess about, like we don't sell memberships or anything, so we just ask people for their email address. Like, do you want to be on our email list? And we send out one email a week, and it's usually, like it has a topic, maybe it's about the Alberta pension plan or the police force, and it's just information. And I would say, I mean, Kathy, you tell me, but I would say 95% of the attendees will put down their email address. They want to be a part of it. They sign up for that. And it's very, very positive.
Very positive.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think the best comment that I've heard so far at the end of any one of the presentations that I've done is I had one lady come up to me, and she had heard it for the third time. We've got groupies now that are following us. And she said, Kathy, I get it now. I get it. She says, I didn't get it in the beginning, but now I get it. And it's like, okay, and that's all right. It's a lot of information. It's going to take a little while. That's why we do videos, Angela and I. That's why we do our newsletters. That's why we have our social media posts, because it's a lot of information that we've been already talking about and going through for 5 and 6 years. Some people are just hearing this for the first or second or third time. And so it's nice to be able to facilitate that conversation.
Where are you guys on social media? Are you on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble?
Yes.
Exactly?
Yeah, so we do have a YouTube channel. Our Rumble channel is a little pathetic because I always forget to upload to Rumble. So.
Oh, by the way, this is a tip that can give you because there are other content creators who are watching this. Actually, PJ DeBell, I'm gonna put his comment here. Shout out to Max and the ladies. Thank you for all you're doing for Alberta Independence.
Very nice.
Welcome. Awesome. You're welcome.
Yeah. Hey, PJ, how you doing? So basically, one tip you can do. This is I digress in here. There are services that can like show the stream on multiple platforms. Like right now, I'm putting on Telegram, Facebook Live. I'm shooting on 5 platforms right now, like Telegram, Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook Live at the same time. So it's quite unique.
That's what we need.
It is.
Yeah.
I can't hardly use my phone, let alone do all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Fantastic. So how do we touching you? So you have a Facebook channel, and you're on primarily on Facebook, YouTube. I'm gonna search for your YouTube channel. It's Alberta Women.
And we're also on X. You can find us there.
Yeah, I found your X account. So I'm going to show you right away if I can. So I'm going to go in here and share screen. I'm going to, that's called a win. Just a second. Just going to share the screen. I have to reinstall my computer recently. So
Oh
it's,
no.
yeah, happens all the time. All right, so I found the X page, but it's going so much faster for real. Okay, so this is a win there. So I'm going to show you the X page on. I'm going to just scroll down a little bit here. So this is. So I'm going to select. Sorry for that. I'm just.
That's okay.
Okay.
No, that's good.
Okay. So this is the X page here.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is X. Okay. So this is X. So give her a shout. The follow link. So what's your handle? AB.
Women's
That's
Network. Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna zoom like crazy. So that's the handle here. I'm gonna put this on the chat here so everybody can see it. So that's for X. For YouTube. So on YouTube, that's gonna be. So YouTube will be something like I'm gonna look on YouTube right now. The women, Alberta Women
Independence.
Network. I'm just gonna move this thing here. Independence Network on YouTube. I'm gonna. Oh, you have another Facebook, another channel. I'm just gonna put it in here. So that's your YouTube channel right there. Oh, was it that? Because I. There we go. So that's your YouTube over there.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
That's
There
us.
you go. That's you. So that's your YouTube. You're gonna get some subs there. There we go. So that's our YouTube channel. That's our Twitter there.
Yeah.
And I think you're on Facebook too, right? I
Yeah,
believe
that
so.
one's really easy to find. Just
Oh,
Alberta
yeah.
Women's Independence Network. It'll pop right up. Or it should
Oh.
anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look that up later on. So yeah, that's good. I'm gonna do some dig on the Facebook group there. Okay, so you also have a set of slides that you have, right? You have a set of slides you would like to tackle on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the presentation, and we're gonna talk. And this is a very important. This is a very interesting set of slides, by the way, just FYI. So I'm gonna switch over here to the slides in presentation mode. All right. So you have control of the slides.
It's all me, is it? Okay.
Yes, it's all yours.
So just some a little bit of a background to these slides. Angela and I, when we're presenting, depending on where we are and how many people there are, we'll typically just use a very simple one-page handout that I have somewhere around here. But anyways, I have a whole bunch of them around here. But we usually just use a very simple one-page handout so people have something they can take with them. The one meeting that Max saw me at, we were actually in a restaurant and there was quite a lot of people there. And so it just made sense to use the PowerPoint presentation for people to look at there, to be able to see what the information was that we were going to show and be able to follow along a little bit easier. So if you want to have us come to your place and it's up to 20-25 people, then we'll typically use a handout. If it's bigger than that, and depending on the location, sometimes I'll use the PowerPoint. So just as FYI, so people know. But here we go. So we'll start with the PowerPoint. All the information is the same regardless which we use, whether PowerPoint or the handout. And basically what we like to help people see is how we got to where we are today. What happened? And in order to find that out, we have to look at the past in order to see what our future could bring. Our problems go way back. And this is the one thing most people do not ever know. It's not taught in schools. We didn't get to learn any of this stuff. Here's one quote that I came across. The people of the Northwest are allowed but a degree more control of their affairs than the serfs of Siberia. That was Frank Oliver, who said that, and he was the publisher of Edmonton's first newspaper in August of 1885. So when you go downtown Edmonton to the part of the city that's called Oliver, that's named after this guy. He was the first publisher of Edmonton's newspaper, and this is what he said, and that's a pretty powerful statement, that the people of the Northwest are allowed but a degree more control of their affairs than the serfs of Siberia. Elbows Up started a long time ago, because a few decades after that, the Minister of the Interior, Sir Clifford Sifton, had some ideas about what life should be like for those of us over in the West. And he said, "We desire, every patriotic Canadian desires, that the great trade of the prairie shall go to enrich our own people in the East, to build up the factories and the workshops of Eastern Canada, and to contribute in every way to its prosperity." This is what our province was built on.
And this is what we're still doing.
And it's what we're still doing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if we go back in time, remember that we were advertised as the last best West, right? Alberta and Saskatchewan didn't look like they do today. This map here is from 1904. And you can see that the District of Alberta and the District of Saskatchewan were actually part of the province of the Northwest Territories. That was that whole big chunk up there. So when the Dominion of Canada first started, it began with Upper and Lower Canada, which is Quebec and Ontario. And then like bookends came Manitoba and New Brunswick. Now, all four of these provinces, they got to negotiate their way in. To some degree. Manitoba was a little bit sketchy because, well, I mean, Louis Riel thought that they should have autonomy and crazy things like land rights. But anyways, if you don't look at that so much, you can see this is how it started. And then, of course, BC came in, and then we had this province of the Northwest Territories. Well, it didn't take very long for the people who were coming here, because we were being advertised as the last best West, to realize not only is it really cold in the wintertime, we don't have a lot of autonomy around here to get things done that they want us to do. And so some lawyers and some businessmen got together, and they got in touch with the premier of the Northwest Territories at that time, whose name was Hultain. You may have seen his name on different buildings and things, and said, "Listen, we're looking for some autonomy." That was the exact word they used. "We need some local representation. Phones haven't been invented yet, let alone text and email. We can't get a hold of you people fast enough to get things done." And so they said, "Okay, well, let's talk about some ideas." And they came up with one. They came up with the idea to create the province of Buffalo. So when you think back to the Buffalo Declaration that those handful of MPs came up with in 2019 or 2020, I can't remember which year it was, that's the genesis of that. Or the Buffalo Party, that's now the Republican Party, that's the genesis of that. They said, yeah, you know what, let's take what we know today as Saskatchewan and Alberta, and create the province of Buffalo. Great idea, except Ottawa said absolutely no, because that's where all great ideas go to die. And they took a ruler and a pencil and an eraser and erased all the lines and created the two provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan. And the reason that they did that, of course, is because if we ever had a larger population than the East, because we were in the middle of a boom at that time, then the balance of power would shift to the West. And there was no way that they were having that, as we learned in that one quote that I said earlier. So when we look at this map of mostly how we recognize Canada today, there's some changes, obviously, but certainly how we see Alberta and Saskatchewan, we can see that, again, the main four provinces of the Dominion, they negotiated their way in. Newfoundland was the last one to negotiate their way in the 1900s. BC even negotiated their way in. All the maritime provinces did, but Alberta and Saskatchewan did not. We were legitimately colonized. We were told this is how it's going to be, and there's the Alberta Act of 1905 and the Saskatchewan Act of 1905. We didn't have premiers. We didn't even have a legislature. We had nothing. We had nothing except a federal government who said, this is how your borders are going to look, and you are going to start doing things our way. So that is how we became a province. People that say, well, you negotiated your way in, this is how you wanted it, that is not even true. It's not even true. So here we've got the Senate seats. And Angela, I'm going to let you take it from here. Tell us some things about the Senate seats.
Sure. So, you know, a lot of people, it's interesting. This is part of the handout that we give out to people. And we always ask, like, where did these numbers come from? And really the only guess that we ever get is that, oh, it's representation by population. And when it comes to the Senate, that is like the furthest thing from the truth. The population has absolutely nothing to do with the representation that we have in the Senate in Canada. So again, going back to Upper and Lower Canada and the beginning of Confederation, you know, we were a British colony, and they said, well, we're going to form the country of Canada, and you're going to have the Westminster system, which means you're going to have a House of Commons and you're going to have a Senate. And so it made sense at the time, looking at just Upper and Lower Canada, that, okay, Lower Canada has 24, Upper Canada has 24. That's fair. So that makes sense, actually. Then, as Kathy has explained, you know, we had different provinces that were negotiating their way in, looking at the Maritimes. So that came soon after. You know, the folks in the Maritimes, they realized that when it came to, you know, land mass and population, they would never be able to come anywhere close to what Quebec and Ontario had. And so they negotiated, and they said, you know, we'll take 24 as a region. So we've got 10, 10, and 4, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and then PEI. So that's how the Maritimes ended up with 24. BC was basically granted 6. So they said, you're gonna have 6. And that was part of the negotiation as well when British Columbia was brought into Confederation. Same thing with Newfoundland in the 1940s when they negotiated their way into Confederation. They said, you know, we want 6, even though our population will never sustain that, or it will never make sense, but we want 6 as well. But when we look at Alberta and Saskatchewan, we were granted 6. There was no negotiation at all. And they basically just said, well, here's the West. There's 4 provinces, so they can each have 6. But when we look at population, if we were to look at the population, it makes 0 sense whatsoever. So here we go. The numbers beneath, the numbers in the dark, the black, those are a House of Commons seats. Now, Kathy, did you want me to explain that as well? Or did you want to take that?
You go for it.
Okay. So the House of Commons seats, and again, people are like, oh, it's population. Well, population does play a small part in the formula when it comes to how many seats each province has. So you can actually go online, and there is a page that gives you the formula for how they figure this out. So they take the population, and what happens is every 10 years, there's a census that is done in Canada. And after that census is done, then each region forms a committee, and they look at the results of the census, and then they make recommendations to the House of Commons whether there should be any changes. So, like, for example, Alberta, before this last election, had 34 seats in the House of Commons. So they take that number that is based on population, but then they go and apply different clauses to that formula. So depending on which province you live in, depends on which clause is applied to your population. So Ontario, BC, and Alberta are the only ones where it's strictly population. All the other provinces have different clauses applied to them. Okay, the senatorial clause states that no province will have fewer seats in the House of Commons than they have in the Senate. So, for example, Prince Edward Island has 4 House of Commons seats because they have 4 Senate seats, but nothing to do with population. That one clause completely skews the whole idea of representation by population. One thing that is interesting with Quebec in the last census, when they went and they had their committee, well, they kept stalling. Their committee was not submitting their recommendations to the House of Commons. And it finally came out that Quebec had negative population growth.
I remember that, and they were like, I remember just that, there were some talks about Quebec losing a seat.
Yes. So according to the formula, they should have lost a seat. But what they did was the House of Commons decided that they were going to change what is called the grandfather clause so that Quebec would not lose that seat, so that the formula as it stood no longer applied to Quebec, that they could keep their seat. And, so often when we present this to people, they say, well, why? Why would the House of Commons do that? And the answer is, when we look at Ontario with their 122 seats and Quebec with their 78, and then we've got the Maritimes that is also very overrepresented, the politicians know, even the Western politicians know, that if they ever want to make government or if they want to remain in government, they must get those votes. So they must pander to Quebec. So, like we always hear, in Alberta, there's lots of talk. Well, if Quebec can do this, why can't Alberta do this? Talking about different police force and provincial pension plan and all this stuff. Well, and they often say, well, we need to be like Quebec and push our what we want. And, they threaten separation and now they get everything they want. Well, it still will never work. We can never use the threat of independence or separation like Quebec has, because we simply do not have the number of seats in the Senate and the House of Commons that Quebec has. So that argument is completely moot. It will not make a difference when it comes to our bargaining power. We will never have the same bargaining power as Quebec, simply because of the balance of power sits in Ontario and Quebec with those votes. And this is why the CBC was able to accurately call the election 8 minutes after the polls closed in Alberta in the last election. And they do it every single time because they know that Quebec and Ontario and the Maritimes decide who the federal government is going to be made up of.
Isn't that weird?
It is weird.
It's like...
And corrupt.
What shocks me is the amount of, and I think it's on the slides anyways, is the misproportion between the provinces, which is what we see right now.
Well, that's just it. There was one time that I think, Angela, was in your meeting, and the gal had a look at that map and said, "What new fresh hell is this?"
And I said, it's not new and it's not fresh. We've been living like this forever.
Exactly. And people say, well, it's representation by population. And as Angela has just very, very eloquently described, yes, but no. And so if we look at the Senate seats alone, Prince Edward Island has just under 45,000 per senator. Then you see Newfoundland is 91,000 people per senator. Quebec is pretty high for sure. Manitoba is, but Alberta is the highest at almost 815,000 people per senator that we're not even allowed to vote in. We don't even elect them. They're appointed no matter how we try. So no, it's not representation by population. And then if you look at the second list of numbers there, those are the members of parliament. So again, Prince Edward Island, because they have the same number of senators as they do MPs, it's just under 45,000 people per MP. But you work your way up to Alberta, And that's just, there's no comparison. So we're not equally represented in Ottawa, and we never will be at this rate. Not the way that things are going right now. So again, and I think you already mentioned the senatorial clause, right, Angela?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have that senatorial clause. Our grievances are so old, they go on forever. So here's just a list of the ones in most recent memory that I won't go through too much. But even just the last month, or was it this month, where one of our egg farmers got arrested for selling too many eggs because it wasn't part of the cartel. Like, really? He went
Shame.
outside of what it was, had the audacity to sell some eggs and feed a family, and got in trouble for that because there's supply management. And that supply management is in the news a lot lately. People would do well to pay attention to that. We're of course over contributing to the CPP. We talk about that quite a bit. EI changes that favor the East over the West. A lot of people don't know that. Of course, both Trudeau's just about decimated us, and Carney is not going to be any different. There's every recession that we've been in that have actually been even depressions by the numbers were all politically induced. None of that was economics. All of it was politically induced by Ottawa, and they purposely like to keep our dollar low because it's better for the Eastern markets than it is for us. Not to mention this document is garbage.
Yep.
I mean, as we found out, doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
This little cartoon was made in 1915, and it still applies today.
Because nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed. So then here's another quick look at history. This is where we like to go and chat with the women about a little bit. So even in our early days, we saw that there were a lot of injustices. And the women in Alberta, these are all Albertan women, saw that there were some pretty significant injustices in our little world here in our province. But they knew the only way to do that was through the ballot, through that ballot box. So they got together, and who you see there on the left is Alberta's famous five. Henrietta Edwards, she was the oldest one. She's on the bottom left there. She worked tirelessly to see the younger women finally achieve equality in Alberta. Emily Murphy, she followed the laws of the day, using what was on the books to her advantage to become the first female magistrate in Canada in 1916. She, along with Henrietta Edwards, are the reason that we ladies are now persons under the law. Before that, we were not in Alberta. Now we are persons under the law. We have every right to everything that the men do, including to vote. Louise McKinney, she was the first woman elected to the AB legislature in 1917. So this is not long ago, really, in the grand scheme of things, that these changes happened. Nellie McClung was then elected in 1921, and Mary Parlby ran under the United Farmers of Alberta party. So when we go fill up at the UFA, some people don't understand that that was once a political party, the United Farmers of Alberta. And she won a seat in 1921. She held it until 1935. Because of these women, we have the capability, the ability, the responsibility to get involved in politics one way or another. That doesn't mean you need to get in the trenches necessarily. It does mean you need to stay on top of things, keep yourselves educated, and make sure you get out there and vote. And while these five ladies definitely have my heart, the one on the right is my favorite. Her name is Roberta McAdams. And in 1917, there was the Alberta Military Representation Act that passed in our legislature here. And it allowed for the election of 2 at-large members in the legislature to represent soldiers and nurses who were serving overseas in the war, in the First World War. 20 men put their names forward, and Roberta McAdams did as well. She served as a dietitian and a nurse, and she was encouraged, do it. Put your name in there. Why not? You're a woman under the law now. These people made it happen. These other ladies made it happen. Go for it. So she did. And her campaign slogan was give one vote to the man of your choice and the other to the sister. She won. And she became the second woman voted into the Alberta legislature. She was also the first woman in the British Empire to successfully pass a piece of legislation, which unsurprisingly was in support of veterans and their families. So, ladies, these giants have gone before us so that we can have this opportunity to make changes when we see injustices happening in our world around us, knowing that they're a political problem. It requires a political solution. And oftentimes when we're inundated with all of this information about how Confederation works and what our Constitution says, it's remarkably overwhelming. And it's easier to just put our heads in the sand and say, well, I don't know how I can fix that. Well, let's find out how you can fix that. Let's talk about how we can fix that. What does that Constitution say that we can do something about this? And it does say that we can open it up and renegotiate. But to do that, Angela, what do we need?
Well, there's two different ways to do it. And the one that's most talked about up until the last little while is you have to have 7 out of 10 provinces representing 50% of the population agree to open up Confederation. And yeah, the problem is that all those formulas and numbers with the Senate seat and the House of Commons seats, those are all written into Confederation. We can't just elect a conservative prime minister and he can go in and change it. He does not have the legal right to do it. So we have to have 7 out of 10 provinces, again, representing 50%. And the question is always, well, which 7 are we going to get? And when we look at the map, we never will. And we haven't up to this point. I mean, we can remember Preston Manning and the Reform Party. They were the official opposition in Ottawa, and they still couldn't get it fixed because it is written into Confederation, and that is the legal requirement. So the only other way to open it up within the legal framework of Canada is through the Clarity Act, which will require all provinces and the federal government to come to the negotiation table once a province has held a successful referendum on independence.
That's the only way. That is the only way to do this.
Yeah.
And so when I think back to these ladies, they suffered. Their families suffered tremendously. Look it up and read their stories. Their husbands suffered. But they still ran and they still won because they knew that the best way to manage the injustices in society is indeed the democratic way through that ballot box. And that's why Angela and I are traveling the province to help ladies understand we cannot keep our heads in the sand. We can't say, oh, the guys will figure it out. We just can't. We've got to figure this out for ourselves, find out why we need to become our own province, and then get ready to, first of all, sign that petition that that's going to be going around fairly soon as Elections Alberta gets it figured out, to have a citizens-initiated referendum. And then when we get that referendum, check the box, yes or no. Do you want us to negotiate our way out of Confederation so that we're no longer under the thumb of Ottawa? Or are you cool with staying with the status quo? We're this way by design. It's a political problem. It requires a political solution, which means we have to open up that Constitution one way or another. We need a clear question and a clear majority on that Clarity Act. And a lot of people don't always understand the process of how to get that referendum going. And so Angela and I will oftentimes explain that process in our meetings so that people know what to expect. And that the one thing that makes people squirm the most, and ladies and gentlemen, we just got to get over this part, is when that petition for that citizens-initiated referendum goes around, that's a legal document that you have to sign with ink, not online, not email a yes, not text a yes. You have to sign it with ink. Yes, exactly. And it's got to have your first name, your last name, your home address, not a box address, and a phone number and your signature. And we, especially as conservatives, hate giving that information out because people love to dox us. But we're going to have to get over that for this moment, for this time, in order to get this job done. So I just put that out there right now. We're just going to have to swallow it. These are legal documents. They can't just be, sent out to whoever so that they can do whatever they want. We need a clear question, which has already been submitted. Now we need a clear majority to say yes to that so that that triggers those negotiations for that referendum, of course, on Alberta's independence. And that is pretty much in a nutshell what we do. And then it goes into question and answer from there as the ladies are trying to figure out, okay, well, now that I just got this bomb dropped on me about what's going on politically, how do I make this work in my own life? What does this look like for my kids and my grandkids? What will a referendum on independence look like? What would an independent Alberta look like? And that's how we always end our meetings, is with casting that vision and that dream. What could it look like when we are out from under the thumb of Ottawa? And that's when the conversations really become a lot of fun.
Oh, and that's important thing is I was muted. That's important thing is that step one is to get to the referendum vote. That's step number one. That's what we said. That's step number one. And then after that, we can sit at the table with Ottawa and negotiate the process. And that's going to take a few years, definitely. It's not instantaneous. It's just a legal path for sovereignty. Yes. That's the legal path. I just want to see if I haven't seen any questions on the chat yet, but if you have any questions, put it on the chat window, or if you're watching live, you can put it on the chat. Hello, Componoca.
Hey, Bonnie.
Oh,
hey, Bonnie. Hey. So if you have questions, you can put it on the chat, and we can answer those questions right here. I got questions on my own too. Since you're doing this thing in the province, you're doing this thing province-wide, do you have any other events like town hall meetings that are open to the public?
We don't host the town hall meetings. What ends up happening is the town hall meetings invite us to come.
Okay, I know.
So that's typically how that goes. And we go where invited. And literally, I was just in High Prairie the other day. I was in High River 10 days prior to that. Angela's been all over the place. We've been to Grand Prairie. So people, that's how we organized it, is we don't ever want to impose ourselves on you. So have a town hall and invite us to come be a speaker, or have just 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30 people in your house. I had 20 in my house one time, and we'll come to there as well.
So what's going to be the process? Let's say that I want to organize a little meeting, should I say. What's the process then?
You can just reach out to us either through, our social media accounts, or our email address is abwomen'sindependence.network. It's kind of long, at gmail.com. And just reach out to us and invite us. And really, I had a friend the other day ask, well, what is involved? And it's really just give us a date, we'll come, and then invite some friends over. AB Women's Independence Network. Yep, that's correct. Yeah.
I'm gonna put on the banners here just a second.
Okay, perfect.
So anybody can see.
Super, super simple. And invite a couple friends over, and we have contacts from all across the province that are saying, please contact me when you have a meeting in my area. I would love to come. So we will invite a few people as well if you have room. And that's it. We come with all the handouts. You don't have to have any fancy audio-visual equipment or anything like that. It's really
not like I do. Not like
you do. No.
No.
In fact, I think Katie, you will be speaking this weekend, aren't you?
Yes, that's my understanding. I will be at Smithstock speaking
Oh,
on
that's
Sunday.
and from my understanding, I can't confirm things here. I am not speaking on behalf of everybody, but what I've heard is that Jason Levine will be there,
Okay.
Tim Hoven will be there, and you as well. As I mentioned, the details are being wrapped up right now, so it's a work in progress. But this is what there's going to be. Uh, I'm going to record that event, by the way. So I'm going to bring in my 12-channel mixer that I got last week.
Nice.
I'm gonna run the audio and I run the mixer. I'm gonna run the system there, and I'm going to record that event. And eventually, I'm going to push that on social media and a forum, a live stream recording like that. What I usually do, the kind of stuff I usually do, like Freedom Calendar style type of videos that people are used to and familiar with. That's gonna be my expectation for the weekend. As I mentioned, it's a work in progress, so more details to come in the next couple of days. And I want to see if there are other questions from, and I also want to show you something as well too that can help other people, because right now there's going to be a lot of events from the independence movement. I'm just going to show you something really cool here. That's going to be also for you. If you have events from a win for you
Hmm.
guys that are showing up that can be shared. What I'm going to show you to you ladies, and this is something I always do on my share on my lives too. I'm going to you can go to this website abexit.ca. So when you go to that website, I'm going to share the screen here. Oh, I have to authorize the permissions there. Share the screen, authorized. Share the screen and use window number 2. Da 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 da. Alrighty. So this is what it looks like on my end. Allow. Alrighty. So this is what it looks like. So if you go to abexit.ca, as I'm going to demonstrate here, it's going to show this website, Alberta Independence Movement. So when you scroll down, and this is something you can share to your meetings as well if you want. This is the website here, abexit.ca, goes to a subpage on Freedom Candle's website. If you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see the links for the petition. So if you click here, that's going to be the petition from the Alberta Prosperity Project. You can click. That's APP's petition.
Yeah.
If you
Nice.
click, if you click
Great.
under here, that's going to be Unified Grassroots. That's in Saskatchewan, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
really getting themselves put together over there.
Mm-hmm. Another thing you can do is to watch the clips. So obviously, I'm live streaming and recording this thing, but one of the things I do is that I cut the clips from the video and I post on social media as well too. And this is one of the things you can do. If you click on Town Hall clips, you're gonna see a YouTube playlist with a whole bunch of clips here. I have 75 videos so far. This is
Wow.
from so this is from Value of Freedom. That's APP. These are the clips from Alberta's Day at the Whistle Stop.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can watch it online as well too. This is another talk I like. This is another very interesting talk hall meeting. The argument for Alberta, named by it. Was made by Gore Talk and Shane Meekley. Amazing, 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 amazing. Plenty of information, and what I like about that is that they do a different type of. What I like about those meetings, including yours, is that I like to see different perspectives of about independence, not just the APP style talk, but the actual I think there's another initiative that's being done right now by another group as well too. It's called the Alberta Independence Discussion. They have a tour of events. So there are the clips there as well too. You can look that up. Jason Levine there. If you click on entire town hall meetings, you can see the entirety of the town hall meetings, like
Oh,
the
wow.
whole 3-hour clips, like the entire thing, like Alberta's Day.
Right.
That's 5 hours.
Wow.
That's a lot. It took me 1.5 days to edit that specific one. That was a big, huge project.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's
I know
incredible.
that's another strong and free conference. So it's all videos that I made that's all along the way too. So you can look that up. And also, if you scroll down on the website, you can see, hey, this is event here. Obviously, it started at 8:30. Because initially it's supposed to start at
It
8:30,
was.
but we changed the things I did that at the time at last minute. Sorry for that, but that's good. And then we have other events like this, like Unified Grassroots in there, Alberta Independence discussion. So if you click
Yeah.
on abexit.ca, you can get all that information on your fingertips, all the locations from all the independence like events. This is in Edmonton from APP, by the way. It's going to be on August the 12th. So I suspect there's going to be a lot of people in there. So, Bonnie's got a question. I'm going to ask her a
He
question.
does.
I think we talk about it in the question, but I'm going to address that specifically. Go ahead.
Oh,
Or the
good question.
Yeah. Are the AWIN meetings limited to female audiences only? No, not at all. The men are always allowed to come and join us. So there's two reasons for those that kind of maybe missed the beginning. Actually, I don't think we shared the second reason, did we, Angela? There's two
No.
reasons that we, our target audience, I guess, if you want to call it that, or women, is one, because we receive the information differently than men, because it's going to apply to our lives differently than men. So that's the first reason why we target women with our message. The second reason why we target women with our message is because the minute there are, oh, hey, James, thanks. The minute there's more men in the room than women, the women don't talk. We don't know why. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. It's what we've noticed is then the men dominate the conversation. So if we can kind of keep it fewer men than women, then the women will talk and they will ask their questions and they will get their concerns. If we don't have the answers, they'll at least be heard, and we can think it through together and try and find solutions to whatever it is that they're wrestling with. But that's the other reason why it's just a social thing. It's just how we're wired. Not all of us. Angela and I are exceptions to the rule, obviously, but most women, if they are outnumbered by men, they won't talk, and so that's why we target the gals.
Is it that just when is it just the proportion of women versus like men versus women that tends to turn the knob, even if we men don't talk at all?
Correct.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, we're not psychologists. We can't explain it, but I see it over and over and over again, and I don't understand it, but it is.
Yeah. And also, it's going to be a good opportunity to talk to socialize with like-minded women specifically as well too. Like we have
absolutely
men. God created us differently.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that is kind of interesting from all those differences. Oh, I got a comment here. Thank God. Thanks, Lady Alberta first, of course. That's awesome.
Thanks, James.
That's James there. Any other comments here? Oh, that's good. That's good. So any closing remarks? Any comments? And I would like to see you there on the weekend, Kathy, to record this thing and push there on the video. That's going to be a fun little thing to do on the weekend. After I spend my entire day in the mountains.
Awesome.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I haven't been to the mountains in years. It's been a very long time. But as far as any closing thoughts, don't be nervous to reach out to us and have us come to your town, your city, your community, your house. It's just so easygoing. There's really no expectation at all. You know, go to the store, I guess, buy a tray of cookies, and that's it. Put on a pot of coffee, and we'll do all the talking for you, and host the meeting. You just have to open the door. That's it. We try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question too. Bonnie's asking, why you guys started I'm late. I started at 8:30. So what happened, Bonnie? it was a last minute change. Don't worry about it.
I admit it.
No, but that's okay because I scheduled. So because what happened was that the show originally supposed to start at 8:30, but there was a last minute schedule change, and at the same time kind of fits me too because I'm going to go to bed probably at 9 in the morning, 9 in the night when I usually go to bed at 2 in the morning, and I'm gonna go and gonna have a good sleep, and then I'm going to wake up at 3 in the morning to hit the road at 4 in the morning. So
Wow. Wow. You're going to get to watch the sunrise.
oh yeah.
That's going to be nice.
That's gonna be so. Basically, what I'm doing for those of you who are not aware of the situation here, I'm going to the mountains to because it was a constant comment. The introduction video that is for the podcast is kind of fudgy, so I'm about to change it, and I want to get some footage on the ground. So I'm gonna take my camera. I'm gonna bring my tripod in, and I'm going to take some pictures there and some video footage I'm going to use for the new introduction video that will be editing next week or so. So that's the reason why kind of change things a little bit at the very end. But that was good that we have a very good turnout, and I know that a lot of people are gonna watching this stream anyways, at least the recorded version. And I'd like to give a shout out to Corey Morgan for the Western Standard because he shared the tweet that I posted on Twitter to everybody to see, and that's what have like right now. I have more people on Twitter than I have on YouTube. Usually it's quite even. So
Nice.
That's so thanks Corey if you're watching this online. He watches my stuff too. So
Well, and you know what, Max? Can I just jump in? Like,
yeah,
this is what we're seeing all across the province. It's fantastic. Is we've got all these different groups, and we're all coming at the same problem from different angles, but we're supporting each other and working together. And I just absolutely love it. Like the connections that we've been able to make around the province, just fantastic. It is so organic, and I love the fact that this is not driven by a political party. It is driven by the people.
Yeah.
And absolutely love it. So excited about that.
Yeah, and that's very interesting is that no matter what's going to happen, I think I remain fairly optimistic about the whole independence stuff because I only been here for 3 years, right? So obviously I missed a lot of the historic component about the independence movement, right? But I see that the rationale behind it is pretty valid, and the rationale is pretty valid and also one thing. This is me here because we're gonna have a lot of people to convert to the idea of independence. There is a lot of disappointment or anger that's been done towards people who don't necessarily agree with us. Okay, and it's important to say that because it's very important to say that in order to convert the undecided, we have to deliver a positive message and not just ranting about a certain group of people.
Absolutely.
That's
right.
right.
If we start to do that, we're not going to convince anybody. Quite frankly, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
And how that's going to affect with people? Well, it's affecting their grocery prices. When you go to the grocery store, you can say things like, that's why I do when I go shopping. I say, how is it my cheese? Because I love cheese. Cheese and tomatoes on a homemade bun that I just ate yesterday. I made my own bread. I make my own bread.
Oh, we do too.
Yeah, that's good. But you can say something like, how is it that my cheese is twice as expensive? Like now it's like $11, and now it's like $11, and 3-4 years ago it was 7 or 6. Well, you can explain about monetary policy. You can explain things about Mark Carney and how he advised Trudeau on doubling the money supply and everything. Things like that. And then say, hey, if you want to get some more information, come to me to this meeting. That's how I bring. That's what works for me at least. But the point I'm trying to make here is because a lot of people are frustrated, and I understand it. They're frustrated from the current situation at all different levels. What we need to do is to deliver a positive message and cut the emotions to the absolute minimum, because it's important. It's very important. Very,
It
very,
is.
very.
And if I could add to that, Max, one of the things that we run into at almost every meeting is when the ladies and the guys that we're chatting with have that aha moment where they see just how awful it really is for us in Alberta. That's hard on the emotions, right? Because you're supposed to love this country that's Canada. And then you realize that it was actually Ottawa that put us in this mess that we're in to begin with. We didn't do it. Ottawa landlocked us. Ottawa has been the ones that have not allowed us to build pipelines. Ottawa was the one who controlled our wheat and where it was going to go and how much it was going to be sold for. Ottawa is controlling our dairy. Ottawa is controlling everything. Ottawa is taking from us in order to give to other provinces while our own people are suffering and we don't have the things that we need here. And so once people are once the scales come off and they have no choice but to see that our own government is doing this to us, it's an emotional moment.
Absolutely.
Right? And those folks need that time to kind of digest it a little bit and then do exactly as you just said. Set those emotions aside. And now, ladies, how are we going to protect our babies in this? Now we got to think about this pragmatically. Now we've got to think about the future generations. Now we've got to put that behind us. Don't let the anger control us and say, enough. It stops right now. And this is how we're going to do it. We've got a tool. It's called the Clarity Act. We're going to use it. And the future generations, we are going to make darn sure that they do not have to go through this again. And furthermore, all of us who our families, our grandparents and great-grandparents came over here escaping the life that is now going to be here shortly, we owe it to them and to their memory and to their legacy to make sure that that does not happen, that all of the toil that they went through and all of the sacrifice that they went through so that I could live in a house with power and heat and running water is never taken for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very important. So I would like to thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks you ladies for tuning in, for coming here. It was amazing, and we'll do it again for sure.
Awesome.
Thanks, Max.
with
Yeah.
other people for sure. And I'd like to thank you all you guys here who were being attending. We have 62 people, and I think it jumped right away because it started at 8:30. Probably didn't get the message, but
Sorry.
that's okay. No worries. You can always rewind the whole thing and watch this thing. So thanks for coming, guys. And I'm gonna get I'm gonna give a good shout out to Kathy for accepting the invitation, and Angela as well for being here as well. And
Thank you.
for those people who are here at the show today. I will do it again, and subscribe to my social media accounts. So the handle is fcalendar.net on Rumble, X, YouTube, Facebook, and Telegram as well too. So you want to take a look at this. I want to make some clips from this meeting as well too. That will be released probably in a couple of days or so. But that's gonna be good. And don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to watch the video from today. And I'm gonna be recording the event also in Smithstock, and I will be releasing that as well. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Max.
Enjoy the mountains, Max.
Oh yeah, I enjoy the mountains. Absolutely, I'm gonna join the little mountains. We're in Alberta, right? So we expected that.
Mm-hmm.
At least we have beautiful mountains and beautiful roads and beautiful landscapes to watch all the way there.
Exactly.
Okay, see you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.